The old oak tree. In the small village of Meadows End, time seemed to move slower than in the bustling cities beyond the hills. The village was nestled in a valley, surrounded by fields that turned golden in the summer and blanketed with frost in the winter. At its very heart stood an ancient oak tree, its gnarled roots stretching deep into the earth and its branches reaching proudly into the sky. The villagers simply called it the memory tree. No one knew how old the tree truly was. The oldest elders in the village recalled their grandparents telling stories about it. They said it had stood there even before the first cottages were built, back when the land was wild and untamed. Over the centuries, the oak became a gathering place for the villagers, a silent witness to their lives, their joys, and their sorrows. Children played beneath its wide branches, climbing higher and higher until they could see the rooftops of the village. Lovers met under its shade, carving their initials into the bark as a testament to their promises. During festivals, lanterns were hung from its sturdy branches, their soft glow lighting up the celebrations below. One such child was Clara. Born and raised in Meadows End, she had spent countless hours beneath the memory tree. It was her favorite spot in the whole world. As a child, she and her best friend, Thomas, would race to the tree every morning, daring each other to climb to the highest branch. They'd sit together, legs dangling, and dream about the future. "When I grow up," Thomas once declared, "I'll be the fastest horse rider in the kingdom. I'll travel everywhere." Clara had laughed, her bright eyes sparkling. "And I'll be an explorer. I'll go to lands no one's ever seen before." They made a pact to always meet back at the tree, no matter where life took them. But as the years passed, life grew complicated. Clara's dreams led her to the city, where the lights were bright and the streets were filled with endless noise. Thomas stayed behind, taking care of his family's farm. Though they promised to write, time and distance eventually wore their connection thin. Years turned into a decade. Clara worked in the city, chasing opportunities and experiences, but something always felt missing. The city, with all its energy and excitement, never quite felt like home. On quiet nights, when she stared out of her apartment window, she thought of the old oak tree. She could almost feel the rough bark beneath her fingertips and hear the rustle of its leaves. One day, after a particularly hard week, Clara made a decision. She packed her bags and boarded the train back to Meadows End. As the train rumbled through the countryside, memories of her childhood flooded back, the scent of wildflowers, the sound of birdsong, and the laughter that echoed beneath the tree's branches. When she arrived, the village looked much the same. The cobblestone streets, the cheerful cottages, and the rolling hills all felt like they had been frozen in time. And there it was, the memory tree. Its massive branches stretched out as if welcoming her home. Clara approached it slowly, her heart pounding with a mixture of joy and nervousness. She placed her hand on the bark, now rougher with age, and smiled when she saw the faint initials she and Thomas had carved all those years ago. As she stood there, lost in thought, a familiar voice broke the silence. "Clara?" She turned to see Thomas. His hair was streaked with silver, but his warm smile was exactly as she remembered. "I wasn't sure if I'd ever see you again," he said, stepping closer. "I wasn't sure if I'd ever come back," Clara admitted, tears welling in her eyes. They sat together beneath the tree, just as they had as children. The hours slipped away as they caught up on the years they had missed. Thomas spoke of the village and how little it had changed, while Clara shared stories of the city, both its wonders and its challenges. As the sun began to set, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, Clara leaned back against the tree and sighed. "I forgot how peaceful it is here," she said. "It feels like everything I've been missing." Thomas nodded. "That's the thing about this tree. It holds on to our memories for us, even when we let go of them." Before she left, Clara traced her fingers over the initials one last time. "I think I'll stay a little longer in the village," she told Thomas. "Maybe even for good." Thomas smiled. "You'll always have a place here, just like this tree." And so Clara found her way back, not just to Meadows End, but to herself. She spent her days rediscovering the simple joys of village life, and every evening, she visited the memory tree, sitting beneath its branches as the leaves whispered stories of the past. The tree stood tall, its roots deep, carrying the weight of countless lives and generations. It was more than just a tree. It was a keeper of time, a symbol of home, and a reminder that some things, no matter how much time passes, will always remain.